I am so thrilled to bring you this conversation with Dr. Smriti Pahwa from New Delhi, who I was just reflecting on. I would not have connected with her on LinkedIn because of her extraordinary professional profile, her academic background. If I was not in this space of connecting with strangers, knowing the value of connecting with people who are so different, because I previously would have been intimidated by her academic background. So I love a conversation with someone who is so different to me, who I previously would have been daunted by, because it's exciting to tap into what I've been missing all these years. I am a product of what I've been sharing over the years. I'm learning and I'm teaching and I'm learning more and more as we go. And I just want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for the reviews, for the positive feedback and enthusiasm and sharing on social media as I drop a new podcast out each week. Because as Smriti and I were just discussing as we finished this episode, you make a bigger difference than you know. And she said, and I'd stopped recording at this point, but hopefully you get that in the conversation, that it doesn't matter how little your impact is, it's impact. So make a positive difference however you can. And don't be daunted by the big accomplishments of others. And don't compare, because it's such a trap. But whatever small things you are doing to make a difference in the world, keep doing it and look for opportunities to continue to grow and stretch yourself. This is a longer introduction than I normally do, but I just wanted to say thank you for jumping on board, for listening. And I hope you enjoy this conversation. Smriti is such an extraordinary thinker. And she talks about MOC, her MOC mindset, which is missed opportunities cognizant mindset. So being aware of the missed opportunities as you are working to make a difference. And so she explains that in the podcast. We connected over the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. So check those out online too, and consider what are the little things that you do that actually are making a bigger difference in the world.
Don't get intimidated. Oh, we have to change the world. No, just change your backyard. Just make the change what you can change in your capacity, and bigger, better things would come.
Hello, my friends. Kerry Phipps here with the Connect with Confidence podcast. And I am so delighted to connect you with a new friend. Somehow I connected with Dr. Smriti Pahwa on LinkedIn just recently. Smriti, how are you today?
I'm fine, Kerry. It's so nice to, from LinkedIn to actually get talking. It's really refreshing and nice.
Yeah, and we had, a brief conversation about a month ago on Zoom, but the Wi-Fi was dodgy and I went, but even then I could have hit record and just said, can we just share this conversation with the world? Because I am blown away with what you're doing. And something that has happened, I think it was, you saw the Sustainable Development Goals poster on my wall, and then you started sharing what you've been doing.
Yes.
And since we talked, you now have this stunning book that was only in ebook format sitting there on the shelf behind you.
Yes.
So Smriti, would you like to just tell us what has brought you to publishing this book, and then tell us a bit about the book and your work and how can we make a bigger difference in the world?
Thank you so much, Kerry. So since the time, we connected last time, two things have happened. We've had definitely better internet connectivity, that is today. Secondly, my book, which was because of the extended lockdowns here, the printing presses were off. And though it had been, like you just said, it was there in e-format, but I finally get to hold it a day or two ago. I just received, maybe last week, I received this copy. Yes.
Sorry, just tell me how, and you're in Delhi, correct?
I'm in New Delhi, yes.
New Delhi. So how did it feel to receive that paper copy? Well, it's a hardcover. It looks beautiful.
Should I truly, without filter, say how it felt?
Oh, please do.
It felt that I was getting old because because no matter how much I say I am computer savvy, I say, oh, ebook is available, I read it all and everything, but when I actually held the book, the physical book is something else, really. So So I felt old in the generation of, when I see my kids and other peers who are, really okay with the ebook. But I think holding the physical book is different. And I think it is also to do with the tangibility of it all,
Yes, yes.
so that is what a good feeling was. So let me tell you a little about, you asked me what led me to publish this book, right? When I see, so the book is nothing. The book is basically my journey and really my learnings from all the projects, assignments that I've led in the last 2 decades. And I kind of position it, and I kind of end up talking about it in a way that this is a journey of last 20 years in some 120 some pages that I've summarized. I call them true stories. What has happened in the last 2 decades is that I've held diverse portfolios, where in India, but with collaborative international projects, and within India, different operating systems. I started with Indian Council of Medical Research, and then Directorate of Education, NGOs, and then international NGOs and Indian NGOs. I held assignments with World Bank, and a very interesting part of my engagement has been with the MSME, the startups and the enterprises involved in CSR. In India, we have corporate social responsibility. In fact, we have a law. So all these different stakeholders in all this journey, two things happened. One is what I learned directly from leading these projects. But I think in all these professional assignments, I call them pearls of wisdom that I picked up from experts from various institutes and organizations that came along as collaborators. To name a few: IFS, UK, Yale, SIPA, Columbia University, NYC, UPenn, Harvard, ICDDRB, Bangladesh, Gates Foundation, Johns Hopkins, Bloomberg School of Public Health, William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, MX, HCL Foundation, UNICEF, Acumen, Nutrition International, and many more. So this book, actually brings from all these logical perspectives, the experiences through diverse lenses and landscapes. And in this journey, actually, I found value. And I know, Kerry, we kind of on LinkedIn, we connected on actually being, getting to know people, talking to people, and leaving all the inhibitions behind. So in this last 20 years, when I reflected upon them, I was able to articulate something of a mindset that I personally found value in accelerating, in accentuating, in increasing the social impact footprint. Whatever small thing was done, it kind of added up to a whole. And this mindset, when I actually started writing the book, I called it MOC, Missed Opportunities Cognizant Mindset. So this book, you can say that this is like a series of case studies. There are about 13, 14, this is how I structured it. There are about 13, 14 case studies of actual projects that I've led, in which collaborations, partnerships, thinking that, there is an opportunity, but what are the missed opportunities to do more while we are, kind of, and not getting stuck with inhibitions, are basically the common themes that I think resonated with you and both of us, and that is why we are talking. So that is about the book.
Yeah, so I'd love to hear some of those stories, because when you talk about projects and the banks and the universities that you've spoken of, I'm curious, because I know your education is quite extensive also. So what are the kinds of projects that you've been involved in? If you can take us behind the scenes and tell us some of the stories of the people that you've engaged with and what you've been doing.
Sure. Thank you. I think, and thanks for bringing that up, because Kerry, of all the book is already getting good reviews on Amazon. I keep reading, and a common thread in the reviews is the case studies or the stories are really engaging. And we know storytelling is the way to connect and way to communicate, right?
Yeah.
Also these stories, just last evening in India time, I was taking a class on social entrepreneurship, social enterprises, and these stories were also kind of very engaging there, because people I think were able to learn from their landscape. So I'll give you a few that I shared last night, and I'll kind of try to segment them sector wise. So non-profit sector, NGOs, right? My experience and the projects that I led, I joined an NGO that is known for education, right? It is a big name in education, very well respected. But I joined them when I had a PhD in nutrition. Now, from if you see how siloed the development sector or any work that we do, and the more focused we become, we kind of try to lose connect from the other everything else that is happening. So when I made the switch, in the poster behind you, I was in one I was in one box of the SDG goal. But then from that health and nutrition, I moved, so to say, to education. Now that kind of felt on the surface.
Okay.
But actually what happened there was the challenges and the nature of challenges were quite similar, and I was able to see them because I had been in one box and then I kind of transitioned to another. And that extrapolation, that leap of faith, it helped me realize the potential that this organization had in terms of countrywide and even beyond reach, right? And countrywide reach in a country like India is a huge thing in implementation, in assessments. So during that time, what I was able to see was that I was able to extrapolate all the expertise that was available and earmarked, so to say, for education to health and nutrition. This gave birth to a whole new vertical. So it was like, a startup or an enterprise within an already set enterprise, if you can say. And then this particular vertical started looking at other sectors. And since I had a PhD in nutrition, so health and nutrition came to focus more easily to me. And we got funding from World Bank and some pioneer organization, Gates Foundation, World Bank, NIH. So the lesson, and when I was articulating this, I said that, there were these huge missed opportunities that were there. That was always there, right?
Yeah.
All the investment, and when I translate into the investment models, I said the initial investment that was made was in actually the design of the project, and how you can see what are the critical points which can be infused with other, which are mature enough and which can be, kind of married with other domains. Like we did, assessments was a very strong point. It was extra. And when I say assessments, community-based assessments, participatory assessments, so that, the village level assessment is done on education or a learning level, it was done. We tried to use the expertise to do the same approach for health and nutrition, so that the evidence that is produced is actually understood by the people and the community, and it is worked on them, on that. So evidence for action. And one of the lens that I did not foresee when I was writing the book was this COVID situation.
Yes.
What has happened is there, in like I said, CSRs and the development sector, there are going to be huge paucity of funds, because obviously the funds have been allocated for COVID relief, right? So as a result, the health programs or the education programs or the programs, the way they were being funded might not be feasible if they remain siloed, So there is the point that in the social entrepreneurship class that I was trying to make was, which I would like to make here also, because it goes well with the theme of connecting with people and just leaving our inhibitions behind and leaving our restrictions behind, that we are in one box of the SDG and we cannot go to the other. To make these bridges so that we have cost-effective, high ROI models which are kind of integrated. So that, we can have cost-effective models, even if the budgets are less, but then we are not saying, oh, we will not do the health program, we will do the education program. So somewhere finding the missed opportunities within the health programs for education and within the education programs for health, so that this is a more cohesive collaborations and partnership that goes. This angle, I thought MOC was very important. It was a no-brainer. It was no rocket science. But in all these, I gave you one example. there are 16, 17 of them, from government projects to corporate projects to schools, that have you that I've been able to find a missed opportunity and address it.
Yes.
But it somehow gets overlooked. I don't know why, but I think now more than ever it is relevant.
Yeah, so I love that. So your MOC, the missed opportunities cognizant. So it's your awareness of opportunities that are missed because of people just addressing one. When you talk about silos, I grew up with literal silos. I grew up on a farm, so we had silos full of all the grains. And I wonder what does it mean to people in cities when they just hear about silos? I don't know. You can tell me what you think. But I just see you sort of standing up with a higher perspective, looking down on all of these silos. And we look down, even if our listeners can just go and Google Sustainable Development Goals, and you'll see all these coloured squares. And there is so much overlap. And of course, my favourite goal is goal number 17, the partnership for the goals.
Yes,
and
which I've never talked about.
and that is, having a conversation like this with you today. We're partnering in looking at how we can make a bigger difference in the world. But if we're getting people clean, safe drinking water, that has an effect on their health. The sanitation has an impact on health, the nutrition, the education, the feeding programs that get kids to school in different countries. And, if we, as you said, can get out of the silos of just working in one field and go, how can we collaborate? How can we look at what are the possibilities? So, thank you for sharing that. It's fascinating. So can you just take me to a particular day where you looked around at the people that you were working with or serving and just felt so amazed at what you were seeing? What's been like a really rewarding day for you? Can you describe it to us?
Sure. So I'll come to that. Just on your point on silos, like you said, I'm standing up and looking down, but a little kind of adjustment in that orientation. It could be as simple as, Kerry, if you're sitting and there's a poster behind you, if you're kind of just looking at it. So I think all these silos, if we have to call them silos, like these boxes, the SDG goals that have been made, or the silos that you had in your farm, they are there to keep things organized. There has to be some structure. Yes. Otherwise, everything is everything, right?
Yes.
So I think they bring some method to the madness that is there, which is fine. Yeah. But when I talk about silos and when I look at the entire landscape as if I was looking at this poster behind you, so while I might be looking at the box, when I say MOC, it is basically being cognizant of the fact that fine, I am looking at this one top red box, but there are 16 others which are there. So which would mean to translate to just translate in everyday language would be, suppose I'm serving 500 villages, or suppose I'm serving a community of 100 or 100 households. It could be anything. It could be I could be investing in them in anything for any one of this. It could be sanitation or anything. But when I say while you're doing what you're doing from an MOC mindset would simply mean I am giving them education or I am talking to them about nutrition, but I know that they also need livelihood, that they also need water and sanitation. Can I do everything? No, right? But if I am cognizant of the fact that there is this huge spectrum of unmet need that is there, I would be more proactive in seeking out collaborations rather than waiting for a convergence program to bring me together. In fact, the last section of the book, when I conclude, it is simply, and I remember I just put it, the last section is, so convergence is talked about all the time. What is new? This is exact one section in the book. Yeah. And I say that MOC mindset basically ensures that convergence is inside out and not outside in, right? And to answer what has been really rewarding, it is really very basic. When I was doing my doctorate, fresh out of college, I had just joined. I was a young researcher at Indian Council of Medical Research. And then that is where I registered for PhD. my doctorate in nutrition, and it was based in a slum community. These are like very small units, 10,000 of them huddled together like a slum in Delhi. And I remember my topic was vitamin A, vitamin A deficiency India. We have a program on supplementation or vitamin A supplementation that has been on for many decades now. And vitamin A deficiency still is a public health problem in certain pockets to this date. So that was my basically PhD area, where this thing was, I worked on a SBCC, I mean health communication, health education, nutrition education program. I was not supplementing. I was working with the mothers of these young kids who are most vulnerable to vitamin A deficiency. And my job was to create these groups, and I worked with around 370 families there over the course of 8 years to kind of, walk them through why this is important, because there's such dearth of awareness also, right? And the most rewarding thing was when we were doing the impact. I mean, so there were 3 phases. There was a baseline, and then there was this intervention, which was by means of talking to these people, and then there was a impact evaluation. And in the impact evaluation, when I was talking to this lady, she could say night blindness, and she could say vitamin A deficiency, and she could say, oh, we went there, but the medicine was not there, and on the other side, when I went to the health clinic, there was a health post that was set up to cater to this area of population. There, the doctor appointed was so annoyed with me, because she said, you go and tell them that with measles in India, with measles, you get at 9 months, you have to get vitamin A deficiency dose, which is given free of cost. And they come and ask us, and sometimes we do not have supply. So what do we do? So, the fact that really, this was like what, 10 years ago. And it is so fresh, the feeling that, I am a lone researcher here, right? And at that point, I didn't care whether my results were statistically significant or not, but the fact that I could make that change, I could make that demand side activation together, was really the realization that stuck with me. I think that thing that, you do whatever you can do. The world, I was just reading this quote for my class last night, and it said, never underestimate group of highly motivated citizens. They are the ones often who make the changes in the world. And to my class, I was like, see, the world, in my slide, I had this world written in bold and red. I said, don't get intimidated. Oh, we have to change the world. No, just change your backyard.
Yes.
Just make the change what you can change in your capacity, and bigger, better things would come. So I started with that philosophy. By the way, all this in a way is there in the book also. And then I think this realization helped me in bringing bigger and better partnerships as I moved along.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, and it really, I was thinking earlier when you were talking about all the colored boxes of the Sustainable Development Goals, it prevents overwhelm. Like you said, it brings order, which helps us to focus on one thing and do it well, but also being aware of what else is going on, what are the other needs, and how can we collaborate. And so that's beautiful. We can certainly look at what's the one thing that we can do to make change in our backyard, or to use another old expression, what's in your hand? Like, what is that thing that you can do? And I love having these goals up on the wall here, because since, I'm not sure if I told you this in our first short conversation, but we give to different projects through B1G1, Business for Good, which we can select all of these different projects around the world that are connected to different sustainable development goals. And one of them, our second book, when I sell the second book, we plant a tree for nutrition and income for a family in rural India. And then other projects, speaking of India, we have another project that we give to, which is education for remote villages, e-learning for children in remote places in India. And I love that we can celebrate that, one book sale means one family is getting nutrition and income, through that tree that we plant. And it's small things. And it really helped me to let go of the overwhelm and also the feeling of like, what can I do to make a difference in the world? We get so many requests. People are finding me on LinkedIn, not just amazing people like you who are doing all these incredible work and just wanting to collaborate, but people also that are just saying, hi, I'm doing this work. Can you please send money? And I'm like, do you know how many people ask me that? And we need to be looking at who is doing quality, ethical, accountable, transparent kind of work in the world. And, I love that we've got the opportunity to do that. And it's, like I said before, it's like partnership in the goals when I connect with people like you who are doing beautiful work, but also helping take the overwhelm out. And I love that you're sharing case studies of work that you've done. And that vitamin A story is just beautiful. So thank you so much for sharing. I could talk to you for ages.
Me too.
I try and keep these bite-sized for people who are just doing a short jog or something. But we will put all of your links in the show notes so people can go and follow you online and see all the beautiful things that you're doing. And I'm just one more question. When we talked about leaving inadequacy behind, when you were like maybe 15, what would your 15-year-old self have assumed that you would be doing now? Was she aspirational? Was she shy? What kind of ideas did you have back then?
So I really consider myself really fortunate, to be able to born in a family which and this I'm talking now 50 years ago. I think my father 50 years ago, he decided, he was an engineer, and he decided that he wants to set up his own business. So he had an entrepreneurial mindset back then. I think when the term was also not talked about at all. Now we are just talking about startups, right? So my family was like a mix of a business culture, an enterprise culture, and my mother was a teacher. So, there was this optimum mix of resources and resource balance and the freedom of thinking. So at 15, I remember, and that was in a way, sometimes I used to feel I really challenged because, what do you do when your parents say, do whatever you want to do? Right. And sometimes I used to feel, they should, sometimes say, okay, do this. But, I think, so I think this entrepreneurial spirit, at least in the way of thinking, was with me. And oh gosh, I'm remembering one of my professors in college would have been a little over 15 years. But then when I was doing my master's, I had our biochemistry professor who I still remember. I had just finished my presentation. We used to have presentations then. And she said, Smriti has an entrepreneurial attitude. I was not sure if I understood why she was saying that then. But now when I look back, and I've written a book about it, I'm taking courses on entrepreneurship. So thank you for bringing that up. After this call, I'm going to reach out to her and tell her that, I remembered her today. So
that's so
thank
beautiful.
You so much.
As you said that, I just was goosebumped head to toe, because I think to reach out to people who've made a difference in our lives, who
Absolutely.
have spoken words of life, words of encouragement, is such a powerful thing to do. So I love that you shared that. That's a beautiful note to finish on. Thank you, Smriti.
Thank you so much. Thank you for, I really cherish this connect. Thank you.